Hello everyone, this is my vegetable seed sowing video for March, and as I did last month in February, I had a playlist and I put as much information into video format of all my seed sowing, and I tried to also show my organisation, my means, my thoughts. Tried to get all that down onto video to help those who are new to gardening and seed sowing how to approach it and how to get on with it, how to spread the load over the season. And I'm going to do the same in March now. And so this is my first video, and there'll be a playlist directly underneath that you'll be able to look at any time to see, right, what was Steve doing in March, or what was Steve doing in February, that sort of thing. And I'll do the same again for April. I'm going to put as much information about sowing as possible for these 3 months, and then we'll get back to normal videos back in somewhere towards the end of April. Now, when I was a kid and I started off gardening, I started with my granddad. I've made that known before, and I was about 5 years old. As soon as I got to 6 years old, my granddad bought me a diary, and he told me to start writing in it, to start writing the information down that he was passing on to me and what we were doing and when. And most important to that was, he also asked me to write down the weather, whether it was warm or whether it was cool and that sort of thing, and to also write a trend at the bottom. And what that is the weather 2 or 3 days before the day and 2 or 3 days after, so the forecasted weather. So at the very bottom of every diary entry it would say cool, then there'd be a line next to it, and then after that it would say warming up. And that helps when you look back in years to come. When you look back on that diary, you can say, well, that worked there because the weather was warming up, or that failed because it was getting colder, or frost were predicted. So that's a little tip. And if you're new to gardening, and even if you've never kept a diary before, I urge you to get yourself a little diary or a journal and start writing down the things that you do, the seeds that you sow, when you sow them, what the weather was like, how you sowed them. Just get into this rhythm. Now, I found that by the time I was sort of 9 or 10 years old, I didn't need to keep a diary anymore. I would look at the diaries over the winter and read back, and by the time we got into the spring, I knew what we were doing in the 2nd week of February or the 3rd week of March, because I'd learned it parrot fashion, and everything I learned after that was just added in as just one more variety of seed, and that was just added in up here, and that's the way I've done it ever since. I don't keep a journal at all. If you like, I suppose my videos are a bit of a journal, but you know, I don't really refer back to it. It's all up here, and it's almost a sixth sense. So I would recommend that you keep a diary or a journal, or if that's a bit too much into that, have a look at the kitchen garden with Eli and Kate. She's done a wonderful video which shows you how to put a very basic spreadsheet together using software. You can use Microsoft Excel, or you can use a similar free version called Open Office, and you can get that off the internet. But if you go over and have a look at Eli's video, you'll see how she puts it together and how she organises her seeds and sowing for that year. Well recommended. So there we go. Now, I don't ever stop sowing seeds. I sow right the way through the year to keep a continuation of plants, and I think this polytunnel, for example, is testament to that, because I've got all these plants ready to go. Most of these up here are flowers. I have got some edibles down here. I've got some leeks, station sown leeks, multi-sown leeks, and some onions and more leeks over here, and these were sown sort of the end of December, and I'm spreading the load throughout the month. And I'm now getting to that magical time. We're into March, and that's exciting for me, because I know you can see some clear soil over there and some here, and this bed will be clear in about a week's time. And it's at that time now, the crossover period, where I can sow in the ground, also into big trays or little module trays. I can sow everywhere, and I've suddenly got extra space available. If you haven't got a polytunnel or a greenhouse border, you can buy little cheap cloches. They're just tiny little hoops. They're about this wide and about this tall, and they super expand to cover the soil, or you can put polythene down in your soil to warm it up, but you can sow seeds. Brassicas, for instance, so your cabbages, your cauliflowers, your broccolis, your turnips, your Swedes, they can all be sown in soil temperatures between 5 and 10 degrees. You don't have to wait till the soil gets really warm. They will germinate in there, under cover, under protection, just to keep the temperature of the soil up. So get cracking and get some seeds sown. The only way you'll learn is by actually sowing the seeds, writing down what you've sown and as much information as you can. Then the next year you can judge better. So there we go. Right, let's get on with the seeds for this month. Right, so to the seeds then, and the first ones I'm going to cover are roots. These are the things that actually grow in the soil, obviously. And I've got carrots here, and I've got 4 different types. Some that I've grown before and one that's new to me I'm going to try this year. And the first one is, I actually got this tip off Charles Dowden, he grows this, it's Burlicum. This is actually Burlicum 2. And I've grown them now for a couple of years. Fantastic carrots. I've actually got some in here, I think. I think some of these are Burlicum, but any road. Then the next one is Autumn King. Now they're a fabulous carrot. They can get to this sort of size. Great big meaty carrots for soups and stews and things. And then Purple Sun. Now I found these ones, when you cook them, they're purple all the way through and they stay purple when you cook them. And if you cook them Vichy style, just with very little water and a little bit of butter, all the flavour and the sweetness stays in them. Fantastic. It's almost akin to a good beetroot. But that's that one. And the last one is Carrot Touchon. This is a new one to me. Similar to the Burlicum and the Autumn King. Good roots, and they store well and keep their sweet flavour for a long time, so they say. So I'll be sowing those 4 in those carrot boxes that you'll have seen if you watch the channel for a while before. And I'm going to sow them in a couple of weeks time. I'm going to leave all these roots for a couple of weeks. The next one is parsnips, and I've got Gladiator here. Great big proper parsnips, the ones you can chunk up and roast in good sized pieces. So I'll be sowing those as well in a couple of weeks. I do have another variety of parsnip called Palace F1, I think it's called, and I sow that later in the year, sort of June time, but we'll get to that in June. And the old famous celeriac I've got here, this one is Giant Prague, and they're a great root. They're smashing when you smash them up with mashed potato. It's a lovely flavour. It's very mild celery flavour to that. Got to keep them well watered though, those celeriacs. And then I've got turnip as well, so they'll be going in at the same sort of time as all of these, outside in the beds. And yeah, we like those grated in salads. Are great to make coleslaw with them. That's a nice little tip. And then I'm also classing this as a root because you can eat the roots. This is parsley, and I'll be getting them going. Good tip with parsley is a kettle that's gone off the boil for 5 minutes or so. Soak your soil in that water and then sow your seeds. You'll get better germination. So they'll all be sown. I'm going to do 3 piles of seeds. Some that I'm going to be sowing this next week, then 1 a week later, and then 1 a week later, just to spread the load over the month. The next lot are peas, and I've got 3 types again here. This first one is a first early pea. It's called Meteor, and I'm using this for growing pea shoots. So they'll go into a tray somewhere in here in the polytunnel, and as they grow up, once they get to about this size, you just nip the top out and you add them to your salad raw, and you get that lovely pea flavour. Let them carry on growing. They should side branch and you'll get more shoots off them. And I've got 2 main crop peas going in this year, and I'll sow these in gutters. And this one's called Blauwschock. Blauwschock, and that's a sort of a bluish pea. They turn green when you cook them, but they look really nice on the plant out in the garden. And this one is a new one to me. It's called Carabi de Moussan, and this is a Mange 2 variety, and it's said to be one of the original varieties of Mange 2, and I've never tried it, but allegedly you get big, long, sort of sugar snap type peas this sort of size. So looking forward to trying that. Everything's new, and I'll be sowing those this next week. Now on to some brassicas now. I've got cabbage Golden Acre. This for me is my my coleslaw cabbage, and that's a very reliable cabbage Golden Acre. Nice big drumhead white cabbage, or very light green. I love that, and I'll be sowing that in this month. This is a new one to me, Caraflex F1. This is a Hispy type, and I'll be growing that for the summer as well. And then I've got two types of cauliflower. I've got all year round and igloo. You don't really want to be growing this into the hot weather of the summer. They don't like that, so I want to be getting them going soon. And I have sown some at home already, but they haven't shown, so try again with those, with cauliflowers. And then I've got a broccoli green sprouting. We're going to try that early this year. I've never tried it this early in the year. And this one is called Stromboli F1. I also need to sow Swiss chard. I sowed that along with the cabbage, along with the cauliflower at home, and they haven't germinated either. They're old seeds, so just sow them again. And again, this is why I sow early in the year. If you have a mistake, if you have a problem, you've got time to resow, and you just spread in the load. You see all those seeds already, I've already got them spread out over a couple of weeks. This isn't an exhaustive list, by the way. I will be adding other things to them, and I've already got ideas in my head of what else I can do. For instance, I'll be doing a whole video about lettuces, and that's why they're not included here. But another one I'm going to be doing is this one, my favourite spring onion, Ishikura. It's a bunching onion, so you don't get the swellings at the bottom. It's just a straight down onion, but it's the same flavour and taste. And I'll be sowing these probably every 3 to 4 weeks to get a continuation through the season. So that's pretty much it. I'll put them in the middle there. And we'll come back at various times through the month. I'll say I want to show you as much as I possibly can about sowing the seeds just for this 3 months, February, March and April, to give you a guide as to how I approach things, not just what seeds I sow, but how I approach them, how I get on with them, how I move them on and how I bring them down. This month also there'll be plants coming down here from home that are sowed through February, and you'll start to see those plants being potted on and brought down and planted out, hopefully by the end of this month, some of them. So there we go, that's March's seeds. In a couple of days I'll have another video for the flowers, and again they'll all go in the sowing video playlist for March. So there we go. So I've already got tomatoes sown at home, along with peppers, chilies, aubergines, some brassicas, a few bits of lettuce and zebron shallots. So I've already started the process off this last month, and I've already got plants down here as you've seen. But we'll go through this month of March sowing those seeds, and there will be added extras. As I said, there's definitely a lettuce video coming up because it's important that I address that and show the varieties that I'm sowing there. And there will be additions to those seeds, because I haven't even touched my box yet. So I've got a whole box full of seeds in the kitchen at home. I need to look at that, and there'll be more seeds added in. So do come back and check that out. As I say, in 2 or 3 days there'll be another video, all my flower seeds that I'm sowing this, and again with some added extras to that. So March is a very, very busy month for sowing, and I'm going to show again as much as I can through March and through April, and they'll all be in a playlist for that month under there. But for now, this is it. Do look after yourselves, everyone. Stay safe, and I'll see you all very soon. Ta-ra now.